I'm going to show you a card that I made with the Butterfly Brilliance stamp set bundle from Stampin' Up. It's one of my favorite ones. As you probably know, I've used it a ton. So I'm just going to show you today a card, and it's a fairly simple card actually that I made with it. So hopefully I'm getting lined up here somewhat straight, and hopefully I'll be able to see comments today. YouTube hasn't been a problem, so I'm hoping that all will be good. But definitely say hello if you're hopping in, and let me know that you're here. And if you're watching the replay, that is awesome as well. I'm always happy whenever you check out a video. So, all right, so again, this is the card we're going to be making today, and it uses the Butterfly Brilliance stamp set on the background here. And then this sentiment is actually from the Through It Together stamp set, which is one that I actually really like from the new annual catalog. So hey, Susan, thanks for hopping in today. I appreciate you being here. And I see Karen is here as well, so thanks for joining. And Danette as well, so thanks, and Bree. So again, everybody, welcome. Thanks for hopping in, and thanks for saying hello. I appreciate y'all being here. So, all right, so that is the card we're going to be making today. We're going to talk a little bit about the stamp set first. So this is the stamp set. It's actually, when you purchase it from Stampin' Up, it is one solid, large, like background sized stamp. I actually have two of these. And one I've kept as the whole background stamp, and the other one I chopped up and cut the little butterflies apart. And I'm actually finding that I'm using it a bunch more with the butterflies cut up, just because oftentimes I don't want a whole background full of butterflies and have to die cut the whole page. I just want one or two or three or whatever, and then I can stamp the ones I want and die cut them, because the dies still fit. You just have to maneuver your piece of paper underneath your die to make it work. So but this is my chopped up one. Like I said, normally it's all one big solid stamp when you get it, but don't be afraid to take a heavy duty pair of scissors and chop it up. If that will help you to use it more, then do that. So I'm always an advocate for chopping things up so that you can use them. So hey, Karen, I appreciate you being here as well. These are the Brilliant Wings dies, and they are in a bundle available for 10% off with the Butterfly Brilliance stamp set. Again, you don't have to purchase them together, but why not? Save 10% and get them together. So these are the coordinating dies with it. This die, actually, it's all one piece, and if the stamp set was all in one piece, this would fit perfectly over the top of the stamped image, and you run it through your die cutting machine, and then you've got 6 beautiful butterflies all cut out and ready to go. But again, you can put your stamped piece of paper under just whatever butterfly it is that you're wanting to die cut and get the same result. I have heard, I haven't actually tried it yet, that if you have a good sharp pair of tin snips, you can even cut the dies up. I haven't been brave enough to do that because I'm afraid that I'm going to destroy my dies, but I have heard that it works. But then there are these intricate dies that actually fit perfectly with all of the die cut butterflies as well. So if you want to stamp something and then layer vellum or something pretty over the top of it, you can do that, or you can just layer it up background piece with the butterfly. So however you want to use the dies, that works, it works great. Oh, the other thing with this die to know about it is that when you actually use it for die cutting, it cuts each of the individual butterflies out, and so they're their own little piece of paper. So you don't have to worry about it, they're not connected together in some way. It cuts each individual butterfly out. So anyway, all right, and then there are a couple little accessory pieces. Here's like an embossing kind of brick look, and then here's a little brick look that cuts it out. Then there's a little solid butterfly, some little dots that you can cut out in the background, and then another little solid butterfly. So again, it's a really good die set, and that is the Brilliant Wings dies, and it coordinates and is in the same bundle with the Butterfly Brilliance stamp set. And I guess I need the dies, so I shouldn't probably put those too far away. Hey, Kay, thanks for hopping in, and Ginny's here as well. I appreciate you guys joining. A couple other things that I used on this, and of course it's really hard to see an embossing folder because they're clear, but I used the Bark 3D embossing folder, and that is what embossed the background panel. Hopefully you can see a little bit better on the actual card, but that's what I used to emboss the background panel. And then, like I said, then I used the Through It Together stamp set for the sentiment on here. This one's, again, one of those that's got just tons of really good sentiments in it. And I love this one. I love the font in this one. And this is the one we're using today. And it says, "Follow your dreams," which I thought was a really cool thing and perfect for butterflies. But again, there are a lot of different sentiments in here, kind of a good all-purpose stamp set. So if you haven't seen this one, go take a peek at it. Again, it's in the annual catalog, and it's called Through It Together. A couple other things that I used. I also used the Ornate Layers dies, and this is the die in particular that I used to cut out the designer series paper on the background of here. So that is just a little die cut that I used there. And of course, my stitched rectangles dies, I used this one to cut out the sentiment. So we will be using those in just a minute. Okay, couple things before I get going, and then I swear we really are going to do some stamping. I just posted this on my blog a couple minutes ago, but Stampin' Up! Is doing their Designer Series paper sale again in July. Yay! So it starts on July 1st and runs through August 2nd. And there are 9 packs of Designer Series paper. There's one that's 6 by 6, but all the rest of them are 12 by 12. So the Tidings of Christmas is a 6 by 6 pack. The rest of them are all 12 by 12 designer papers, and they're good ones. They're the ones from the annual catalog that everybody's been buying like crazy. And you're going to get 15% off any packs of the paper that you purchase between July 1st and August 2nd. So that is coming up soon. And just wanted to make sure that you knew about that. Again, the details are posted on my blog, which is stampwithamyk.com. And I just posted it a couple of minutes ago. So if you go take a peek, it should be the first blog post. If you're going out there on Friday, that is. All right. Let's go ahead and get rolling. Oh, one other thing, I am doing a double points reward point ordering bonus through July 2nd. So I did try to time it so that it would run through the beginning of the Designer Series paper sale. So I started it yesterday, and it's going to run through the 2nd, which is next week, Friday. So any order of $50 or greater, you're going to get double reward points for me for the order. So yay for that. All right, let me know if you have any questions on that, and let's get going on the card. Okay, so the card base is thick, basic white card base, and I've got it cut to 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4. So this is just your standard issue card base. We're going to add a little bit of the multi-purpose liquid glue to the background, and the reason I'm using the liquid glue instead of the tape runner type glue is that I'm going to be gluing an entire card front sized panel on here, and that gives me a little bit of room to wiggle things around and make sure that it's where I want it to be before everything sticks forever. So this is a piece of basic white, just standard basic white cardstock that is cut to 4 1/4 by 5.5, at least it should be. And I have embossed it ahead of time with a Bark 3D embossing folder. So we're just going to stick the two together here on the card front. And hopefully I've got everything cut to the right size so it'll fit. All right, and it looks like I do, so I'm just going to take a second to press this down and make sure that it is adhered well. And then I'm going to flip it over and just do a quick double check to make sure I don't need to wiggle anything around, which it looks like I need to wiggle just a hair to make sure that everything is lined up right. But that's the one bonus of the liquid glue, particularly on this type of a project where you're gluing a whole huge piece on the card front. It gives you a minute to wiggle things around. You don't have to worry about it. Designer Series paper. This is cut from the is it hand-penned? Well, let me look at the sheet. I've got it right here in front. Yes, it's the hand-penned Designer Series paper. And I just have cut this with the Ornate Layers dies. And we're going to adhere that on with a little bit of Stampin' Seal. And again, this pack of Designer Series paper is going to be on sale starting on July 1st for 15% off. And it is a beautiful pack of paper. If you don't have it yet, get it, and if you have some, get some more because you're going to use it. At least I've been using it like crazy. It's got a bunch of the new ink colors in it, and so it's just a really pretty pack of paper, good designs in it, and I love the polka dots. I'm sure y'all know that because I use them on everything. So, all right, so I've got that adhered together. Ahead of time, I did do 2 of the butterflies and die cut them, stamped and die cut them. I used Tuxedo Black Memento ink and just colored them, and I'll show you in a second how the colors that I used on them, color them with blends. But it's the same technique for all of the butterflies on here, so I didn't want to, spend all afternoon sitting here coloring with you, although I'm sure I'm fascinating to listen to and you guys wouldn't mind, but I figured you probably didn't need to sit and listen to me tell you the same thing over and over again for the coloring stuff. So we are going to stamp. This is one of my Brilliant Wings butterflies, and hopefully I'll get a good image here the first time around, in Tuxedo Black Memento ink. I'm just going to stamp it here on basic white cardstock. Yep, looks like we got a pretty good image on that one. And then I also am using the same image on the inside of my card. So I'm going to go ahead and ink that up and stamp it while I've got the ink out here. And that's given my other panel a second to dry. And then this one will give it a second to dry as well before we start coloring anything. So, all right, just stamping this. This is going to be on the inside of the card, so I just wanted a little butterfly kind of peeking in here like that. Let me close up my ink pad before I stick my fingers in it, which I probably will do anyway. All right, so let's bring Karen likes listening to me. I don't know why, because I sit and go back and listen to myself, and I'm like, oh, anyway, but glad you're enjoying it. So, all right, so again, I've got this stamped in Tuxedo Black Memento ink on basic white cardstock, and I'm starting with the light and dark Pale Papaya Stampin' Blends markers. And I'm going to start with the light one because that is my preference. Some people start with the dark, but I find the light a little bit easier to start with just because you can always go darker. It's a little harder. You have to bring out your color lifter if you want to go lighter on something. So my thought is that I usually want to start with the light and then add in dark. And then I can always come back and add in some more if I want more color rather than having to take it away later and try to figure out how to do that. So as you can see, I'm not doing a particularly fantastic job of coloring. I'm just getting the light color kind of towards the inside of the butterfly here and sort of just doing little flick lines out here. And I'm going to be blending that in with the So Saffron in just a second. I had a moment of, I can't remember what color that is. I wanted to say yellow, but I knew that was not right. So, all right, and then I've got the dark Pale Papaya, and I'm just going to come in here. And again, where it's kind of, Stampin' Up! Does a nice job on a lot of our images for us, sort of giving us a guide on where we should add dark shading because they put the shading in there. So I'm just going over that with the dark Pale Papaya and kind of keeping it towards the middle a little bit. And then I'm going to take my light Pale Papaya Stampin' Blends, and I'm just going to come back and again just sort of blend away the harsh lines on here. The bottom I don't really need to worry quite as much about because that's pretty well covered by the kind of the dark shading that's already on the image. But for the top, you may want to come back and do a little bit of blending with the two. So we've got our Pale Papaya done. Next up, we've got light and dark So Saffron, and that is what I'm going to use for the outside of the wings. Again, so I'm starting with the light. And I was double checking that because I had a moment of, I'm not sure which one I grabbed, but start with the light and start in and go around the bottom of the wing, or the edge of the wing, I guess, and kind of color in towards where I've got the Pale Papaya on there. And again, just kind of doing the light little flicking over it for the moment. And I'll blend a little bit more as we get a little bit further into the project, but I don't want tons and tons of color where the two are mixing together. I thought it looked like it should be lighter there, so that's why I did it that way. All right, so we've got the light So Saffron ink, or So Saffron Stampin' Blends, and then I'm going to come back in here again with the dark, and again I'm just going to start out here where they've already got some of the darker colors and the darker shading at, and just put a little bit of the So Saffron ink around the edges here. And then I'm just going to take my light So Saffron and again just sort of draw in the color and sort of flick it and mix it in here a little bit with my Pale Papaya that I've already got on here. All right, so we're just going to do the same thing here, kind of mixing and blending the colors just a little bit. And that's all for the wings on the butterfly. So super simple. And I think it turned out pretty. I like the way the colors kind of came together on that one. For the body of the butterfly, I thought about doing a darker, maybe one of the basic black or something, but I don't know. I changed my mind and decided to use crumb cake on it. I thought that looked all right. And so I'm doing light and dark. So I put light down first and just coming back in and adding a little bit of the dark crumb cake, again in the areas where it's already shaded at. All right, so that's all there is for coloring the butterfly. Let me grab, which of course they're just out of my reach here, my paper snips. That is one thing when you are stamping and wanting to cut the individual butterflies, you definitely are going to want your piece of cardstock trimmed down just a little bit so that it fits nicely underneath the butterfly die when you're going to do your die cutting with it, because it's a full-size die, so you don't have a ton of room around the edge. Plus, you're going to ruin a bunch of cardstock. You're going to end up chopping it up into butterfly shapes that you may not necessarily want. So I usually try to trim mine down closer to the edges of the butterfly and then run it through my die cutting machine. So that is what I'm going to do over here to my right. So hang on a second. I'll be off screen. But hopefully you're enjoying a Friday, a beautiful Friday. It's fantastic weather again here in New Jersey. We've got, we've been lucking out this week. I know the heat is coming. But we've had some fantastic weather this week. It's a little warmer today than it has been, but still definitely, I mean, it almost feels fall-ish kind of weather where we're not really hot and sticky yet. So, so I'm kind of happy about that. Summer is not my favorite season ever because I tend to run very warm. And so, you know, anytime where it's a little cooler and we're getting a few more days of cool weather in between, I'm always happy about that. All right, so that is it for our butterfly die cutting. And again, I did the other two butterflies ahead of time. So we will go ahead and stick these on the card front. I'm going to start with the butterfly in the center, and that's my larger butterfly. And I'm going to take a couple of my little chopped up Stampin' dimensionals. I know it's coming, Karen, but I'm going to, you know, soak in the cooler weather for as long as I can. Because, yes, I do not love hot weather. All right. So I'm going to be trying to get this somewhat centered, and I'm trying to use my grid paper to get me to the point where I kind of know where the center is, and hopefully I'm picking the right spot to be the center, which I think I've got it finally centered here. So, oops, am I off screen? I think I'm still on screen. So the dark line here in the middle is the center of the grid paper. And again, you can't really see it, but you can sort of imagine the line going up, and it should go straight up through the butterfly's body. And that should put you kind of centered here. And then you can lift the wings up a little, which I know they will get smashed when you put it into the envelope, but I just thought it looked kind of pretty when you lifted them off the paper a little bit. And then I'm going to take glue dots to adhere my other two little butterflies on. And just take a couple little glue dots and stick them under their little bodies in the center. And again, I'm just going to do the same thing where you can kind of lift up the butterfly wings just a little bit to give it a little bit of a more, I don't know that it's realistic look, but fluffier look. So same thing on my second butterfly. And the dog is in here with me, and she's fallen asleep and started snoring. So I hope you can't hear her, but if you can, know that it is not me snoring in the background. So, hey, Jamie, thanks for hopping in today to hear me talking about my dog snoring. So she is crazy. She's either out in front barking or, you know, wagging at everybody, or she is in here snoring. So, all right, next up, we are going to stamp the sentiment if I can find my ink. Here we go. And again, pale papaya is what we're going to use for the ink color on it. And let me grab the stamp set again. This is the Through It Together stamp set. And the sentiment we're going to be using is the Follow Your Dreams sentiment. So again, this is one of those that is a really good stamp set from the annual catalog. If you haven't seen it yet, go take a peek at it. It's a good one. And again, pale papaya is what we're going to ink it in. And I'm trying to decide, I think we'll stamp it like this, and I think that my die will fit around it right, and if not, we will change it up and I'll stamp it a second time. So again, just stamping it on basic white cardstock, and I have got my stitched rectangle dies, and I'm going to use the smallest one in the die set to go run this through my die cutting machine. So again, this one fits pretty nicely right around the sentiment, so I'm going to do that here off to my right. You guys have anything exciting planned for the weekend? We're kind of, you know, my husband is going to be working on a fencing project, so yay. I know that means lots of trips to the Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace Hardware, Karen. So, but yep, so I know that we'll be doing a few runs there, and otherwise we don't have too much exciting planned. Thanks, Rosie, I appreciate that. And if you saw, I didn't even see you had hopped on here, so. All right, so we got our die cutting done on the sentiment. Kick that out of the way and pick that out of my die. And then we're just going to use some little Stampin' dimensionals to adhere this to the card front. So, hey, case away, Karen. I'm glad to hear that you like it. Like I said, I was pretty, I don't know, I went like a million different ways with this card. I started out with a totally different plan, and then by the time I got it put together, it looked nothing like what I thought it was going to. I had a wood grain background on it at first, and then I tried layering some other things on it, and I just was completely unhappy with everything until I went back and just pulled out the basic white and decided to emboss it, and then I'm like, why didn't I do that to start with? I just saved myself like 2 hours worth of fretting and cutting and, you know, destroying everything. So, all right, so last piece on the card front is we've got some of the 2021 to 2023 in color jewels. And of course, because I colored it with the pale papaya, that's the color that I'm going with. And I stuck one up here on the big butterfly. and then one of the smaller ones over here on the small butterfly, and then one more of the small ones here on the sentiment. And hopefully I can get that on there. Yep, there we go. And that's it for the card front. So again, kind of super simple, but I love the way that it turned out. So, we had, due to rain, lunch was delayed. Oh, okay. Yeah, that happens. So, all right, so that is it for the card front. On the inside of the card, again, I've already stamped this in Tuxedo Black Memento ink and gave it a minute to dry while we were chatting here. And I'm just going to do the same process for coloring it. This one's just a little peek of the butterfly, but we've got Pale Papaya for the center of the butterfly here. And I'm starting with the light Pale Papaya and sort of scribbling the color on here and kind of flicking it out to the towards the ends of the wings. And then I'm going to come back in here with the dark Pale Papaya and again add in the dark right around the center of the little butterfly body and where they've got kind of the dark shaded areas on the butterfly. Then I'm going to come back in, excuse me, with my light Pale Papaya and sort of blend the edges a little bit together. And again, just kind of taking a little bit of a flicking motion to move the ink out a little bit on the butterfly. And then we're going to come in with light and dark So Saffron. So I'm starting with the light. I had to check because again, I've grabbed the wrong marker so many times. So starting with the light and kind of again using that same sort of flicking motion towards the center. And coloring the bottom of the wing here, same way, just using the little flicking motion. And then come back in with the dark So Saffron blends and coloring in toward the edges of the wings and where they've got their shading on here already. And then I'm going to come back in with the light and sort of blend the two together. And then do a little bit of blending here over where the two different colors meet. And that's all there is to the butterfly wings. Last piece that I need to do is color the body of the butterfly. And again, I've got light and dark crumb cake that I'm using. And I'm using the little bullet tip end on this just because it's a small space. If you are, you can use either end, whatever one works best for you. I just find that sometimes when I get into the smaller spaces that the bullet tip end works a little bit better for me to keep it inside the lines. And then sometimes I go crazy and get it outside the lines anyway. So, all right. Hey, Michelle, thanks for joining today. So. You're not doing this one, but we'll do one with the Tropical Oasis. Oh, yep, that'll work. Oh, I got to take my cap off my Stampin' Seal here. And I'm just going to run a little bit of Stampin' Seal along the edges to finish up the inside of the card. All right, and flip that over, flip this over, hopefully get them stuck together the right way. And that's it. And then we're going to fold it. And then I'm going to take my bone folder and turn my card so that the back is facing up and do my kind of crease line with the bone folder on the back a little bit carefully because I'm trying not to smash all my embossing on the front. So that is the reason that I flip it over and do it that way. But that's it. So that's my card for today. Hey, Mary, thanks for hopping in. We're just finishing up, so I appreciate y'all being here. Thank you so much for joining me today, and hopefully you enjoyed the card. Like I said, I love the way the butterflies turned out. I was really happy with it. I love the colors on it, but the in colors are some of my favorite ones we've ever had. So I will be using those probably till the day they all retire forever. So, all right. So thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate you being here. I will plan to be live on my Facebook page on Tuesday. It's probably going to be earlier on Tuesday. I think I'm going to be live around 11 o'clock next week, Tuesday on Facebook, but I will definitely post a note and let you know what time we have dentist appointments and, all sorts of fun stuff that we do during the summer on Tuesday. And then next week, Friday, I will plan to be live out here on my YouTube channel. Again, everything will be posted. All the details for this will be posted on my blog tomorrow. And once the blog post goes live, I will share the direct link to it in the description of this video, so you can find a link to the blog post out there and find any details that you want to know about the card out there. So again, thanks so much for joining today. I appreciate you being here. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll chat soon.